To set up your ComprePouch, start by connecting the cables to the force amplifier box. If your ComprePouch comes with a force sensor, you will have a cable from the force sensor ending in this kind of plug that you can plug into the back of the force amplifier box in the connection labeled force sensor. Next you can connect the display unit, which you connect with the USB cable. Connect the USB to the front of the force amplifier box and the other end to the side of the display unit. And then you can plug in power in the back of the force amplifier box. When you switch it on, you will see the current force measured by the force sensor. If I push on this, you will see that the force increases. And you will also see the maximum force that is allowed for your force sensor. Just be aware that the springs might have a lower maximum force that you can apply. You can use the ComprePouch in this state as a standalone unit, but you can also plug this into a PC to record the force. And for this, you need to connect the serial cable to the force amplifier box in the plug labeled PC. And to the other end, you need to connect the serial to USB adapter. And this you can then connect to your PC via USB. Now we can place our pouch cell inside of the ComprePouch. Start by taking the top block off of the contact solution in front of the ComprePouch. This reveals the contact pads of the contact solution, and we can take our pouch cell and place it inside of the ComprePouch. Now the pouch cell should be placed exactly in the center of the ComprePouch, and this usually means that you should make some markings on the ComprePouch to ensure that you're really placing it exactly in the middle. And it usually means that your pouch cell has to be pushed in a little bit into the ComprePouch, and this can mean that the tabs will have to lie on the metal surface of the ComprePouch, so please be careful not to short the tabs. And I recommend putting some Kapton tape on the bottom plate to avoid shorting, and don't forget that you should also place Kapton tape on the bottom of the middle plate to avoid shorting once you apply pressure to the pouch cell. In our case, the pouch cell actually doesn't have to protrude that much. It can lie like that. And in this case, the problem would be that the pouch cell actually will get clamped by the contact solution and it won't contact the tabs properly. So in this case, what we can do is to place a distance block between the ComprePouch and the contact solution. For this, we first have to unmount the contact solution. And we can place one of those blocks in between. And in this case, we need to use some longer screws. And then we can screw it back onto the ComprePouch. Now this gives us some distance between the ComprePouch and this contact solution, and we can place our pouch cell like so. And now the tabs will make good contact with the pads on the contact solution, and we can place this top block on, clamp it down, and this makes both electrical contact with the pouch cell and secures the pouch cell in place a little bit. And we can also lower this lever to securely put the pouch cell in place. To record the force in CompreDrive control, first go to the RHD plugins tab. Here you have a section with RHD force amplifier and press connect. This will connect to the force amplifier, and then in the plots tab you can select the force from the force amplifier shown as RHD FA force, net and gross. If you show net, you will get the force, including the tear value. Now we can apply some force to our pouch cell. First we should tear the force sensor. You can do this by pressing the button here on the left side of the display unit and hold it down for a second, and then you will see that the force shows 0 Newton. Of course, this now includes the weight of the top plate. If I hold it up, you can see that it has a small effect on the measured force. So the best case is to actually tear it while holding it up like this. And now you can see that when I place it back, we are including the weight of this top plate. Now we can start to screw these screws down. And please only do this while the lever is in the down position, like this. If you start to apply some force while the lever is in the top position, you will damage your ComprePouch. And once the screws are almost down to the washers, you can use this spirit level here to ensure that the top plate is level and parallel with the other plates. Of course, this assumes that the workbench that you're using is somewhat level, but this ensures that the springs are compressed all to the same amount. So that seems to be level. And now you can use these indicators to ensure that it stays that way. So you can place them on each of the 4 screws with the indicator pointing in the same direction for each of the 4 screws. And now applying some force via the screws, I turn each of them by the same amount, for example, a quarter turn. And I ensure that the indicators are all pointing in the same direction all the time. And that way I can go to the force that I'm looking for by monitoring the display unit. And when I reach that force, I can continue with the cycling of the pouch cell. Now you can connect your Potentiostat or battery cycler to the connection solution. On the front you have 4 connections. Each electrode has 1 power and 1 sense line. You can connect it either in 2 or 4 electrode mode, and the ComprePouch has 2mm banana-like connections. There are also these adapters that you can use if you have 4mm banana connectors. If we open this up, you can see that the power and sense lines are actually connected, and the sense trace is closer to the pouch cell. If you have the LVDT distance add-on for the ComprePouch, you can mount 1 or 2 LVDT distance sensors to your ComprePouch by using the included adapters. You screw them on and screw them towards the locking nut on the sensor. And you can use the included software to check how much this piston should be pressed in. When it's in the correct position, you can tighten the adapter towards the nut, and then you can place it into the holes. And then securing it with the set screw. Don't over tighten this screw, and then you can lower the stage. And it's very important not to push the piston of the LVDT sensor in too far when it is in this position, so use the software to make sure that the sensor is always within the recommended range.